सहनौ पुनस्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मुखचेताः। यः श्रेयस्यानिश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितं आविर्मयेधि वेदस्य महाणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मावतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु अवतु मामवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवाग्वं स्वस्तिनोभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव इति पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजुनीव स्वामृतम् अस्मि द्रविणत्वं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायण नारायण।
How's everyone doing? Good. Okay. So we stopped on Shloka 41, where we covered the classification reflecting the 4 different functional divisions based on Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now we'll study today the characteristics of these different functions, and then what is its purpose. Yeah. So Bhageshri, would you like to start reading with us? Connection between 41 and 42.
Before 40, right?
41 and 42 के बीच में.
Acha, okay. Now the Lord describes the characteristics of each functional division. A study of these characteristics would enable a person to determine the functions for which there is a natural flair. First, the natural characteristics of a Brahmana or divine are narrated by the Lord.
Shamo damastam shocham.
Shamo damas tapa shocham.
Shantirajavameva cha.
Shantirajama. Shantirajavameva cha.
Jnanam vijnanamastikyam.
Jnanam vijnanamastikyam.
Brahma karma swabhavajam.
Brahma karma swabhavajam. Serenity, self control, austerity, purity, forgiveness, simplicity, scriptural proficiency, spiritual attainment, and adherence to theological principles are natural functional qualities of divines Brahmanas. 9 functional qualities of divines or Brahmanas: serenity, Shama, control of the mind and keeping it free of worldly thoughts and agitations so that it can be used for constant contemplation of reality. Self control, Dhamma, control of the senses to facilitate constant practice of yoga discipline. Austerity, Tapas, forbearance of physical and mental strain incumbent in performance of righteous duties and yoga disciplines. Purity, Shaucha, physical and mental cleanliness. Forgiveness, Shanti, absence of vindictiveness and an attitude of ignoring any wrongs done by anyone. Simplicity, Arjava, absence of crookedness. Scriptural proficiency, Jnana, constant study of scriptures for direct perception of reality. Spiritual attainment, Vijnana, seeing one reality in all manifestations, culminating in total perception. Adherence to theological principles, Astikya, being unaffected by worldly glamour and remaining steadfast on a disciplined divine life. These 9 characteristics follow from a predominance of Sattva-guna as a natural trait of character. Nevertheless, it is quite possible for those who are not so endowed to cultivate them in human life by assiduously striving for them.
So there are two aspects to this, right? The first one is for us to be aware what are our natural traits, what comes naturally to us, what are some of the vibhutis that we've been given, right? And the vibhutis will transfer into the qualities, right? So when we have a Brahman is a person who essentially is a person who is in Satagun and practices these qualities. Each of these qualities we've discussed in detail in the past, right? Whether it's Sham, which is control of the mind, control of the senses, which is Dham. Tapas is doing the effort, but for the sake of righteous duties and yogic connection with Bhagwanji, right? That's what your tap is. That's what your effort is always done for in human body. Purity, which is clean mind and clean body. Forgiveness, the complete absence of wanting to harm anyone, despite the hardship or despite what you have gone through in your duty, right? The simplicity, not being attracted by worldly objects. And of course, the spiritual proficiency, which is the effort that you consistently put of your mind towards scriptures and scriptural and spiritual attainment and following these principles. So this is all Satagun. This is all stems deeply from Satagun. What is also very clear is all of these are functional qualities we can all sharpen within ourselves. And all of us would have some of these that come naturally to us and some that don't. But the real skill is the ability for us to sharpen any of these tools that we have. Any of these characteristics we can develop in ourselves to operate more from a sattvic state of mind. Yeah. Smita would like to read.
Sure. Next, the Lord describes the natural traits of a warrior.
Shaurya tejo dhridaksha
Dhritir-daksham.
Shaurya tejo dhriti draksham
Shauryam tejo dhriti drakshyam
yuddhe chapaya pa sorry yuddhe chapya palayanam
Yuddhe chapya palayanam.
Danimeshwara bhavascha.
दान है दान, not दानी.
Danmi, sorry, Danmish, Dan,
दान
एक second.
ईश्वर.
Danameshwara bhavascha.
Danamishwara bhavascha.
Shatram karma swabhavajam.
Shatram karma swabhavajam. Heroism, resplendence, fortitude, efficiency, non-swerving from pursuit of war, charity, acumen for governance are natural functional qualities of a warrior. Functional qualities of a warrior: heroism, bravery and courage.
Let's just connect this back, right? So for a warrior, right, is a person who's predominantly sattvic, but with a fair amount of rajas in them. Very low tamas, but a fair amount of rajas. So now you will see a lot of these qualities refer dynamism. They refer action, right? So if you read each one, you will see there is a strong sense of achievement and creation in sansar that gets built around here. So we'll read it one by one.
Heroism, bravery and courage in fighting an enemy.
So heroism here in when we talk about Kshatriya, we're talking about as a warrior, which is in fighting. But in our life, a Kshatriya, heroism also comes in taking on battles, challenges, taking on achievements, massive ambition, right? That need, all of that will feed in here as well.
Resplendence, rays of brilliance emanating from a commanding personality which influence others.
So this is the element of that tejas, the charm that people have to influence others. This the character of a leader, so to speak.
Fortitude, dhriti, unshakable state of mind in the face of severest adversity.
So this is dhriti not for the sake of yoga or connection. This is dhriti that you have to be able to withstand pain and obstacles to achieve something.
Efficiency, daksham, cleverness in management of one's affair righteously.
So this is the problem solving, solution problem skills that we work on.
Non-swerving from pursuit of war, apalayanam, absence of the tendency to run away from war.
So the focus to achieve your goal.
Charity, dana, utilization of one's resources for the benefit of others.
So this is the sattvic element, where what you do essentially is you do for the benefit of others, the impact and help, do it for the righteous reason.
Acumen for governance, ability to govern and administer for maintaining order in the society. Ishwar Bhav.
Yeah. So this is essentially leadership, management and leadership, right? That's what we would classify in today's world as a Kshatriya, natural Kshatriya.
In this shlok, the Lord speaks of persons who are born with these qualities and who are therefore fit for functioning as warriors. These qualities can also be acquired by striving for them assiduously. Cultivation of these qualities requires some dynamism, which is a basic characteristics of Rajogun. But with the dominance of Sattvagun and by dedicating the actions to the Lord, progress on the path of Karma Yoga becomes easy.
Yeah.
Everything in this that we've talked about so far, the qualities here, the important thing and why this is going to differentiate a warrior or a kshatriya from a vaishya is the fact that everything is being done for the good of others, for the good of the society. So when Abhinav is talking about ambition, there is no personal ambition. Kshatriyas don't have personal ambition. They will have an ambition which is for the larger good always, right? If an ambition is very personalized ambition, that's a Vaishya quality, not a Kshatriya quality, right? So you will see heroism or like charisma or the dhriti, right? In Vaishya also to be able to gain personal goals. In case of a Kshatriya, the dhriti, the charisma, the shaurya, all of this is utilized for the sake of goodness of the society, the larger, the greater good, and not for aiming for personal goals. This is a very, very important characteristic of a kshatriya. Kshatriya is always thinking about his community, about the people that he's responsible for, and he always puts others first before him. It is not about him. He is in service of others, right? A Kshatriya is always in service of others. And all his resources and all his vibhutis and all everything that he has is in service of others. The Kshatriya clan is for service. That is why the last part, where you see ability to govern and administer for maintaining order of the society, right? He is always thinking about society, whether it's management, whether it is doing good, whether it is doing dan, whether it is, and he does it in a very, very efficient manner. The only way you can be really, really efficient is when you're connected with the Lord. Okay? When we do karma yoga meaning everything is done in the service of the society as an instrument of God. When we do things like that, only then can our actions be considered efficient. Otherwise, we waste a lot of energy, which could have been done with a fraction. The same goal can be achieved with a fraction of the energy if we do it, and that's efficiency. When we do it as karma yoga.
Nana, would you like to read?
The Lord now speaks about the natural traits of a producer and distributor, and also those of a worker.
Shani Gorakshavanidyam.
Shani Gorakshavanijam.
Sorry, Krishi Gorakshavanidyam.
Krishi Gorakshavanijam.
Veshyakarma Swabhavajam.
Vaishyakarma Swabhavajam.
Paricharyatmakam karma.
Paricharyatmakam karma.
Shudruswapi Swabhavajam.
Shudraswapi Swabhavajam. Agriculture, animal husbandry, and commerce are the natural functioning qualities of a Vaishya, producer and distributor. And manual labor is the natural functioning quality of a Shudra, worker. Functional qualities of a Vaishya, producer and distributor. Agriculture, Krishi, farming and growing crops, plantation, horticulture. Animal husbandry, Gauraksha, rearing of milk and draught animals. Commerce, Vanijya, sale, purchase, production, distribution, and transportation of goods. Functional qualities of a Shudra worker. The general function of a worker is to provide manual labor to the various activities of the society. Here again, the Lord speaks of traits which persons are born with. An observation of the natural trait helps a person in the choice of the appropriate avenue of service to the society. As mentioned in Shloka 41, service is the basis of these functional qualities. They are not intended to bestow any special status on any class of persons, and devoid of the element of service, they lead to exploitation and self-degradation.
So I think this sums it up pretty clearly, right? That the purpose of all of this that we are reading is to find work that fits with our natural inclination and the qualities that we have. That is when work will become effortless. That is when you will achieve efficiency, and that is when you will have yoga in your work. It is better to do. Today, unfortunately, we look at work with status, money, achievement, and status. Like that's the only outcome. And you have a lot of people who do a lot of work. Everybody wants to do one type of corporate job, and we can see the result in society with the amount of stress that gets created for that person. And in the next couple of shlokas, it is also mentioned, it is better to do your own duty, even if it's a small duty or a manual labor duty, than do anybody else's duty. That will bring more effort, that will always create more prarabdha for you. So the purpose of all of these tasks, and all of us do all of these tasks at some point, is for yoga. The purpose is to connect that task to Bhagwanji and become a karma yogi.
The best way or the easiest way to understand this is कि अगर the cells have developed themselves to create a hand, okay, and the hand decides that I don't want to do the function of a hand, right? Hand has been designed in a way that it can do certain types of jobs, right? Foot has been designed to do a certain type of job as part of a whole. Stomach has been designed to do a very specific job as part of the whole. As long as each of the organs recognizes, first of all, be aware that these are the characteristics I have been bestowed with. And given these characteristics, this is the duty that's been given to me. This is my dharma. What is dharma? Dharma is what is your swadharma, not dharma, swadharma. This what is your dharma? Your dharma is your natural disposition, your natural way to connect to Lord. Whatever comes like a swabhav to you. लोगों का अलग अलग स्वभाव होता है, राइट? किसी का स्वभाव होगा बैठ के बस पढ़ते रहना है, मुझे बाहर नहीं जाना. किसी का स्वभाव है मुझे आई वांट टू बी आउटडोर्स ऑल द टाइम. किसी का स्वभाव है आई वांट टू बी एक्टिव ऑल द टाइम. किसी का स्वभाव है कि आई वांट टू बी मोर एंगेज इन आर्टिस्टिक एक्टिविटीज. किसी का स्वभाव है दूसरों का ख्याल रखना. सम अदर्स आर लाइक मुझे इतने लोगों से मिलना ही नहीं है. So the important thing here is to understand what is your natural tendency, what are your natural traits, right? And recognize कि ये आपको characteristics दी गई हैं. This is your, you know, your satogun, tamogun, your whatever, like your rajogun, right? Like this is who I am. This is how I naturally am. So now that I am naturally this, what does it mean in terms of my role in the society, right? If hand decides today that I don't feel like doing this type of job, I think it's very, very cool to, to do the stuff that eyes do, right? People decorate the eyes, people write poems about the eyes, people eulogize the eyes. They sound really, really cool. I want to do the job of the eyes so that people can write poems about me. I want people to sing my praises. Nobody writes a poem about hand, even though I do everything. So then they decide, the hand decides, I'm going to be an eye. Do you think the hand can actually perform the job of an eye? It will not be able to. It does not have the characteristics to be able to do what an eye does. However hard it may try, whatever it may do, it does not matter. The hand can never be eye. And an eye can never pick up an object. And I can never do what a hand does. So for proper functioning of the whole, every aspect, every object, every part has to work and has to do its swadharma, has to do its own duty. And that duty has to be done for what purpose? Has to be done for the betterment of the whole. Whenever they don't do it for the whole, then the balance of the whole goes for a toss. And when the balance of the whole goes for a toss, everybody gets hurt. If the stomach decides that I'm going to now not digest food, they did not take care of me, they did not do whatever, I'm not going to digest the food, right? And we've seen that, right? We've not taken good care of this thing. Now it decides I will not digest for the rest. Everybody will get hurt, of course, right? But the stomach will also get hurt in the process. If the legs decide that I'm not going to carry the weight of the body, the legs will also suffer. And not just all other aspects. So if any part of the whole decides not to do its swadharma or tries to become somebody they are not, they hurt the whole, and in the process, they hurt themselves too. It isn't a case of like only others getting hurt and I'm like chilling out, right? Like, so you will also get hurt as part of the whole. It will all come back to you, right? So that is the important takeaway here. Um, and what does it lead to is that irrespective of your role in society, irrespective of the resources available to you, first of all, you are born with a certain set of characteristics because of your own actions and your habits. So you're born with that stuff, right? Recognize that for what it is. Choose a vocation that is in line with what your strengths are, right? And then utilize that for Yog to Bhagwan Ji. That will create the path of least resistance for you to reach Bhagwan Ji fastest, to reach moksha fastest. आप ये नहीं कह सकते, oh, Shudra means highest amount of tamas and very, very low or like, equal amounts of satogun and rajogun, but there's very high tamogun, right? So that just sounds like, nah, there's no way this guy is going to ever achieve moksha, right? He will have to become Brahman. Aisa nahi hai. Because a Shudra with that amount of tamas, if tamas is being, once, first of all, you recognize this fact. Now, what does tamas do for you? If you are able to connect to Lord and ask, what is this tamas for? Tamas has very high inertia, right? Now, that inertia can be used for certain things to achieve good. Correct? What is inertia? Inertia is when you put something into motion. उसके बाद वो जल्दी change नहीं होता. That thing doesn't change its direction. Put a person who has high amount of inertia and good habits, then that inertia will make sure that he does not change his habits very soon. He will have lots of bad people around him. He will still not change his habits because there's too much tamas. His ability to change or get affected by other people to change his habits will not be very high. So this is a person, when he has held on to sattva, you've given him good habits, you can push him in very difficult situations, which would cause a person with high amount of rajogun to get sobered. They will get, pushed around by other people around them and they will get influenced. A person with very high amount of tamas will continue his own direction, whatever they are supposed to be doing. They don't get affected by people around them. You get the example that it doesn't matter where you or what you have or what you don't have. Important thing is to use it for connection to Bhagwan Ji. Use it for connection for you. Use it for connection for yoga. As long as you do that, a president of a country, CEO of an organization, a chaprasi in a organization, a person who is sweeping the streets, they all have equal opportunity to meet Bhagwan Ji and to realize themselves doing exactly what they are doing. You can have a PhD scholar sitting in Harvard doing all Gita studies all day long versus a person who all he does is he goes अपना वो खेत जोत रहा है पूरा दिन, खाना खा रहा है और सो रहा है. That's all that he's doing. But if he's remembering all through this, he's remembering Bhagwan Ji and dedicating everything to him, irrespective of what comes to him. It's all a mental game, not the physical game, not the material game. No, it's not a material game. It's a mental game. What is your attitude and what is the state of your mind which you bring to the game here? That is the only thing that determines where you will go. And remember that the life circumstances that we have been given are chosen by us as the hyper-personalized fastest path to our greatest welfare. So when we are in a space where we are comparing people because of material attainments, then we know that we are only in body consciousness. Because we have no understanding of Krishna consciousness and we have no understanding of being able to get a far outlook. We have a very, very sankirn outlook and there is no, like our buddhi is now in a Gandhari state. Only in Gandhari buddhi is then going to justify everything that, your mind and your body and your senses want. The senses will want sense objects, mind will direct it to them, I like, I don't like, and then your buddhi is going to start to justify. Perfect. This is exactly what you should be doing. This is what you will be talking ill about people and your intellect is going to justify it. Gossiping is perfect because in your mind, your intellect will never tell you that you're gossiping. It will create a very nice word for it, which will help you justify why gossiping is perfect. Right?
Kavita, you'd like to read with us?
The Lord now speaks about the attainment by functioning in accordance with natural traits.
Swe swe karmanyabhiratah
Sve sve karmanyabhiratah
samsiddhim labate narah
samsiddhim labate narah
swakarmanirata siddhim
swakarma nirata siddhim
yatha vindati tachrunu.
yatha vindati tachrinu. A person attains perfection by assiduously engaging in work according to the natural traits. Hear from me how this perfection is attained by assiduous performance of one natural action. Self-realization through natural actions. In this shloka, the Lord asserts that by engaging in natural actions, perfection of self-realization is attained. He also asserts that every human being is entitled to this attainment. The actions so performed may vary from person to person according to the difference in functional divisions, but it would be a mistake to presume that for realizing the Supreme Self, there is any special entitlement attached to any particular functional division.
So then this shloka and next shloka is absolutely beautiful because it resonates very deeply with today what we talk about in the colloquial world, which is being authentic, right? Becoming your true authentic self. And what Bhagwanji here is saying exactly the same thing. Before you start doing work outside, you first become aware inside and align yourself to do the work that is absolutely natural to you, so that attainment for you for self-realization becomes easier, right? And so often we tend to not do that, but focus ourselves on comparing to be like XYZ.
You're
ABC.
always trying to be somebody else.
And this is what
Bachpan se, we are
exactly
being told. Bachpan se, we compare our children to somebody else in the class. उसको देखो, उसके जैसा बनो, उससे सीखो. ये हम लोग बहुत करते हैं बचपन से ही, हमेशा showing our children that you are not enough, you're not whole and complete, you need to become somebody else to become better. Very naturally we do this. हमारे सोसाइटी में, क्लास में, हमारे फ्रेंड्स के बच्चे होंगे, अपने बच्चों को डाउनग्रेड करेंगे, ये तो गधा है, इससे ये नहीं होता, उससे वो नहीं होता, my kid can't do this, my we're constantly focusing on what a person cannot do, which by the way, if you actually become honest, all of us have 1, 2, maximum 3 spikes. Most of us have only 1 or 2 spikes in our lives. Okay, in our beings. Everything else we are average or below average on. और हम लोग क्या फोकस करते हैं जिसमें हम बिलो एवरेज है ना, वो 1050 थिंग्स, लेट्स फोकस ऑन ब्रिंगिंग देम अप टू द एवरेज. जो एवरेज है उनको हम लोग हाई करें एंड देन वी डोंट शार्पन व्हाटएवर इज आवर हाई. इतनी एनर्जी जाती है on focusing on the negatives or the averages rather than focusing on the positives, that your positives will never really develop themselves. That's exactly what Gita is saying is you shouldn't do.
So much of our life, as building on what Tuhina is saying, right, about who we are and what we do, is also a projection and a mask for us hiding our authentic selves. So for example, if you do what Tuhina was saying, you have a couple of spikes, you have a couple of average qualities. We do a lot of effort to hide those qualities also. Instead
We
of
don't own them.
We don't own them because we're like, what will other people say?
And that's the
Right?
way to make yourself smaller.
And all of this is because we are driven completely by status, by validation, by material achievement, rather than the duty itself, which would connect to self-realization or karma yoga. We don't even think of duty as a way for self-realization. We only see duty as a way of validation, achievement, or material gain. That's where the breakdown happens for all of us. So what this shloka is saying is, before you engage with the real world, take a step back and connect to your natural actions. And as parents, I would urge, it is our duty to help our children identify their natural ability, their authentic self, and find a role that fits for them. They will, in fact, find a role. You don't need to find a role for them.
So as an example, I was attending, last week there was one of my friends was doing a session on for college going kids, like kids who are getting ready to go to college, right? So it was a session for parents and children for college selection and how to prepare for it, right? And there were some parents who have been there, done that type of stuff, and they were talking about like how important it is that not everybody goes for Ivy League, right? Just because of a name, and how wired we are to think कि बच्चे को Ivy League में ही जाना है. And then that person went on to explain how sending a certain kid to an Ivy League can completely destroy him. Completely destroy him. Gave so many examples of kids who got destroyed and kids who actively chose to not go to Ivy League, to go to something else, which was totally in line with who they are. They had so much of presence of mind, and the kids who had the presence of mind, not their parents who were like Ivy League crazed out, that they said, this is not the college for me. This is the college. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do that, right? And they thrived so well. So this is a very natural today's example of making sure that everybody doesn't become the same thing. Why doctor, why engineer, or why lawyer, or why IAS. सबको 5 चीजें नहीं बननी है, right? You have to find what is good for you, and then you do that, because फिर वो काम नहीं रहता. A person who likes to dance, if he finds a vocation which is in line with that creative ability, that creative expression, उसको दिन भर में काम को काम लगेगा ही नहीं. वो 6 घंटे काम कर रहा है या 9 घंटे कर रहा है, 10 घंटे कर रहा है, as the requirement may be, that person will not get mentally fatigued, because that person will enjoy through the day whatever is being done. He's not winding himself up 20 times in the day to perform what needs to be performed. He will be very natural at performing it. So you're free. You're mentally free to just simply connect with the Lord and make sure that his energy is constantly coming to you. So you will always remain energized. You will always remain connected. You get it? So if you get a guy who's really good at maths and you tell him, boss, you have to become an athlete out on the tracks, that kid is going to he's going to completely fail. You get a swimmer to say you will be a rugby ball player. That guy can be a supremely amazing swimmer, but will completely fluster in playing rugby. So we have to find for ourselves, for our children, and for everybody else around us, important not to compare, not to put one on the pedestal over another. Truly understand, this is a very hyper-personalized world, and everybody has a place to play. Everybody has been born for a very special reason, and they have a very special role to play. And every one of us has right to happiness. And the only way to get happiness, the only way to achieve liberation, the only way to achieve moksha, the only way to make sure that we don't get into a rat race is to be our own authentic selves, finding our authentic selves.
See, for us to do this, Tuvina has mentioned this many times in class, that whatever we are to achieve in this world in terms of not status, in terms of money, in terms of our well-being, it's already been given to us. The mistake we make is we feel we work, we'll be able to earn more and get material objects, etc., etc. But in this Gita, we've read this many a time, that all that that we are assigned for in this life is already given to us. The only thing we have an opportunity to do is do duty, and to do duty without attachment to the result. That's the only opportunity. You do that, you achieve self-realization. But whether we have the belief to disconnect from that result. To say, हाँ मुझे जो मिलेगा, जो मेरे किस्मत में लिखा है उतना ही मुझे मिलेगा. और फिर if you don't believe in that, then you might work extraordinarily hard. You might ruin your relationships, you might ruin your health, you might sacrifice a lot of things, and you still may not achieve that result. So इससे अच्छा you may as well do the duty correctly. Get the result that is required, that is written in your destiny, but at the same time, your mental peace. Okay. Rituj, would you like to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Shloka 46, right?
Huh.
The Lord proceeds to tell how the performance of one's natural action leads to perfection.
Yata parvati sorry. Yata pravritti bhutanam. Pravatir bhutanam.
Yatah pravrittirbhutanam
Yane sarva midam tatam.
yena sarvamidam tatam
Swakarma Swakarmana tamabhayacharya.
Tamabhyarchya.
Okay, say the whole thing.
Swakarmana tamabhyarchya.
Vakarmana tamabhyarchya
Tamabhyarchya.
tamabhyarchya
Siddhim vindati manava.
siddhim vindati manavaha. A person attains to perfection when all natural actions are dedicated with a sense of worship to the Supreme Self, who has created all beings and who pervades the entire universe. Dedication of natural actions to the Supreme Self. In this shlok, the Lord emphasizes three important points. First, creation of all beings. All beings or creations owe their origin to the all pervading self, and they are activated by the energy of the self. Usually, it is thought that each individual has some innate power. But in reality, the power of doing actions is derived from the infinite energy of the self. The natural tendency of a being to engage in any actions is the result of motivated actions of the past lives. In the same way as a plant sprouts from its seed, thus the Lord has created the universe and He Himself provides the energy to all beings for engaging in actions by His own immanence in them.
So this is the first aspect, right? We talked about it in the last class also. We sometimes forget, most of the times we actually don't recognize or don't appreciate that we all have a very limited time in this body. It's a very finite time, 70, 80 years, right? So why have we got this energy? And where does the energy, and what do we do with this energy that we're given, right? We've definitely been given this energy. We've not taken it. We've not earned it. We've not done something for it. We've just been given it. But we don't question why we've been given it. Just like, and what Bhagwanji here very clearly is saying is this energy is given so that you can go and do duty. Your tasks, whatever you're meant to do based on your natural trait. And you're meant to do that duty so that you can connect back to Bhagwanji. Nothing pleases him more than us doing acts of seva and lok sangra. Because as we please others through that act of seva, we are pleasing him because he's everywhere. Right? He's the one doing the duty for himself. What stops it is us and our ego. Where we say, no, I won't do it for myself. Otherwise, just like a tree sprouts, a seed sprouts into a tree, it's him who sprouts that for his own pleasure. Right? Or the other way to look at it is, we've been given this energy, right? So this is almost like when we get hired by a company. We get hired by a company to do work for it, correct? The company gives us the resources to be able to do that work, whether it's time resources, whether it's materialistic resources like laptop and pen and paper and travel and everything else, right? Similarly, but if we take all of that the company is given, the laptop, the airfare, the travel, the hotel, but we don't do company work, we go and start doing holidays, then what will happen? Chances are you'll get fired at some point, because you're not doing you're not using the company resources for the right duty. Similarly with Bhagwanji, he's given us these resources, he's given us this body, this mind, this intellect, the ability to do duty, but instead of doing work for him, we do work for ourselves. So ineffectively, we're the same people who are operating as a thief. The same person who acts as a thief for the company, we're doing the same thing, but with Bhagwanji. He's given us this energy, he's given us these tools, he's given us these qualities for us to be able to do seva for him and for his pleasure. And that's all that is required for us to achieve self-realization. Second point.
Second, immanence of the Lord. Every object and being of the universe is pervaded by the Supreme Self. In the same manner as the water of the ocean pervades every wave, or as gold pervades all gold ornaments, the diversity of the universe is the result of the imposition of names and forms on the self, and the self is immanent in all the names and forms.
So this is chapter 9, right? The greatest open secret. The greatest open secret is Bhagwanji is everywhere. So we are not interacting with Tuhina or my mom or my son or my helper or my friend. I'm interacting with Bhagwan, 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 Bhagwan. Because it's his energy that flows through everyone. Once we understand that, then it's easy for us to get ourselves out of the way. जो भी हम कर रहे हैं उनके लिए कर रहे हैं, जो भी हम कर रहे हैं उनके एनर्जी के साथ कर रहे हैं, वो ही कर रहे हैं हमारे थ्रू. Yeah. Yeah.
Of the Lord by natural actions. As explained in subpara 1 above, all natural actions of beings are activated by the power of the self. But every human being has complete freedom to dealing with sense of likings and dislikings from the actions which are or are not undertaken. An action would or would not be undertaken only on consideration of duty imposed by circumstances prevailing at that time. Actions thus freed of the sense of liking or disliking are naturally pure, and they can then be dedicated to the Lord. This dedication is born of the conviction that every action freed of personal bias is for the Lord and is done with the power of the Lord.
So let me give you a very company-based, the same analogy I gave earlier, right? When a company hires you, and it's a very gross example, but it might add a flavor, right? Suppose I have a company job which makes me travel a lot, right? I travel 3, maybe 4 weeks a month. It is very natural when you tell people that, the natural question they ask you, oh, do you like it? And then you'll hear one of two responses. Oh yeah, I love to travel, or I don't like to travel. So what do you think happens to the state of mind of the person who says, I don't like to travel, but their job makes them travel? It becomes very stressful. They're constantly negative. They're unhappy. They cannot do their duty with the right frame of mind. They're not evaluating whether the travel is important for duty or not. They're doing it in a way that is most convenient for them. Similarly, a person who starts saying, oh, I love to travel, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they don't travel. What will happen? they'll start becoming unhappy. They'll want to look for travel. They'll want to then waste resources just so that they can get to travel, stay in hotels, whatever it is that catches their fancy, right? So what has happened is we've moved away from actually doing the duty to assigning ourselves the likes and dislikes of how to do that duty. So the duty and the subsequent action that we have to do to carry it out correctly is not thought about. The likes and dislikes of how we like to do it is where we spend most of our time. And that's what Bhagwan Ji is saying, that when you do it that way, instead of just being equanimous about how to do duty, whether you have to travel or not travel, you can make that judgment every time you have to travel based on what is required for the circumstance of the action. Consideration of the duty imposed by the circumstances prevailing at that time, right? That's how you should consider how to do a particular duty. But instead, we tend to focus on the likes and dislikes of carrying out a particular duty. So if I like to do it a certain way, then it'll happen. If I cannot do it exactly that way, then I won't. Or I'll do it, but I'll not do it cheerfully. And the seva bhavta, we completely forget that. The moment likes and dislike comes. Because you're doing it for our own sensual pleasure.
The principles outlined above have been exemplified in the religious texts by the story of the sage Jajali, who was proud of his spiritual attainments, but he was once directed to meet Tuladhar, a trader, Dharmavyad, a meat seller, and Pativrata, a devoted housewife. He found that all of them had achieved attainment much higher than his own, only by conducting their natural duties with a sense of complete dedication. This story has a greater importance these days, when everyone is busy in doing daily duties and no one has time for engaging in time-consuming religious observances. The lessons of the story is that, by a proper spirit of dedication, all natural actions become worship of the Lord.
I think that example is very clear as well. That every single action that we do, whatever role we play, we have an opportunity, and we understand this very clearly now, to be able to connect that back to Bhagwan Ji. Use that as yoga. Okay. Just one second.
I think 47, 48
I do want 10 minutes. So okay, let's continue. Visalakshi, are you available to read?
Yeah, I'll read.
Okay, connection.
Connection. Sometimes one is the beset by the thought of one duty being more convenient than another. For example, an office duty is a settled place may appear as being more convenient than a duty involving heavy traveling. The question arises as to whether natural duties have a compatibility, inferior or superior value. Explaining this point, the Lord says,
Okay.
Yeah.
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha
Shriya Swadharmo Vidgunaha
Paradharmat swanutishtatat
Pardharmatu Vishtandaka
Paradharmat
Pardharmat
Swanu
Swanu
Swanushti
Swanishte
Tat
Tat
Swabhavaniyatam karma
Swabhavaneyatan Karma
Kurvannapnoti kilvisham
Purvonatam Ke Kilmisham
Kurvan
Purvan
Napnoti
Natnoke
kilvisham.
Kilvisham. Even the inconvenient duties of one which are devoid of the permit or preferably to the more convenient ones of the another. For the actions enjoyed by natural appetite never involve one in evil consequences. Preferability of natural actions. In this shloka, the Lord provides an important principle. Sometimes the duties evolving by natural circumstance appear to be more inconvenient, unpunitive, or objectives than those of some other person. The Lord says that even in such a case, one's own duties are preferable to those of another. The reason is that in every case the sagacious and dedicated performance of duty, free of the sense of liking and disliking and cheating falsehood, gives more and more strength and beatability for self-realization. Just as a mother nourishes her child with her milk, similarly, such a performance of duty nourishes the person's inner being. The mother may be beautiful or ugly, but her milk is never beautiful or ugly to the child. Even though an ugly mother is surrounded by better looking women, the child would run only to the mother for being fed. Similarly, for gaining spiritual strength, no purpose could be served by looking for the more convenient or more attractive duties of another, but exclusively engaging in one's own duties would certainly be more profitable. The word dharma used in the first line of the shloka does not mean by particular demonization or dogma. It only signifies the righteous duty.
So this particular paragraph refers to the first line of the shloka. And this first line of the shloka is the only line that is fully repeated in the Gita. So this is also mentioned in chapter 3:35. The same line is highlighted there, right? And it highlights the main reason why this is highlighted is for us not to get tempted to carry out other people's work, right? It is better for us to do our duty than to try and do somebody else's duty. That creates far greater prarabdha because that stems from desire. So no matter how well or bad you carry out that duty, you've done nothing but create more prarabdha for yourself.
In the second line of the shloka, the Lord has referred to the actions enjoyed the one's natural aptitude. These aptitude has based one natural qualities which are the product of motivated action done in a past lives. These mental qualities in their natural from determine a person's attitude towards the situations and circumstances, and thus they act as the person's prime movers in life. The Lord emphasized that the actions performed under the impulsions of these natural attitude do not involve anyone in evil consequences. But if these actions are motivated by sinful thoughts born of greed, hatred, anger, and negative outlook, then they do lead to sin and evil consequences. Natural actions performed with a dignified spirit become absolutely pure.
So apart from the very obvious understanding of this shloka, the other way in which we see this in our daily lives, right, is whenever we say stuff like, why me? Kuch hua zindagi mein, why me? Why do I have to deal with this stuff? Right? You have to deal with this stuff because you need that to be able to reach Bhagwan Ji the fastest. You need that experience to be able to develop something in yourself or to leave something that you need to, there's a lesson for you to learn out of this. Or there is there is something in you that needs to develop and show. Something needs to emerge from you, something that will only show up in that situation, that will tell you something about yourself, right? Like there are hundreds of reasons why that particular situation has come in your life, that particular relationship has come in your life. It's a mirror of your inner self and is the pathway to Bhagwanji. But whenever we get into a victimhood, whenever we get into a space of why me, why do I have to do this, why somebody else not given this work, why always me, all of those conversations are where we are talking about, I'm not happy with the duty that the circumstances have enjoined on me. And I think someone else's life is better, someone else's situation is better, and I want to, live their life, right? So this is another face of the same thing, right? Because it is driven by likes and dislikes. So the only way for us to get out of this is to make sure that whatever duties are given to us, however inconvenient they may be, right? We should attend to them without likes, dislikes, without judgments, and with a sense of complete dedication. जो हो रहा है भगवान जी के रिक्वायरमेंट से हो रहा है, एंड नो कि अगर भगवान जी ने हमें कोई सिचुएशन दी है, he has also provided us with the resources and the strength and everything that we need to be able to deal with it. He never gives you stuff that you're not ready for. Whether you are aware of it or not is on us, right? So agar hame lag raha hai ki are how will I deal with it, you just need to look around and ask Bhagwan ji. He will show you people, he will show you resources, he will show you strength that you never thought of before. Resources emerge when you connect with Lord, and he will show you ways to deal with the situation, right? As because we are not attached to a certain end result. यही end result होना चाहिए. That is where the stress comes in. If that stress is not there, right? जब train चल रही है तो उसकी movement है. If you allow your body to move with that movement of the train, there is no stress created on the body because that movement comes, and that pressure passes through. It comes through you and you push it out to the next person, to the next situation, to the next thing around you, right? Your body doesn't hold on to that stress. But if you try and stay in a position, then every movement will hit you and you will absorb that stress. So we have to be natural. If we move naturally with the VVGPs that come up in our lives, with no attachment. Attachment क्या होता है? Attachment हमें स्थिर कर देती है एक जगह पर. We become fixed. We stop moving with the natural ebbs and flows of life. We get attached, we get stuck. And if you are stuck, if you're trying to go against, or if you're trying to stand still in a flowing river, you can imagine the amount of energy you need to do that, right? But if you're flowing with water, तो कोई energy नहीं लगती. Right? So if we are doing our natural duty, which is in line with our natural dispositions, attending to everything that the life naturally shows us, without looking at, that grass is greener the other side, without indulging in all of those things, without indulging in any sort of victimhood, without getting attached to a certain place of life. अभी मेरी लाइफ मुझे बहुत अच्छी लग रही है, भगवान जी ये चेंज ना करना, और फिर अब हमको वही पकड़ के रखना है. ये घर, ये लोग मेरे आसपास रहे, ये घर मुझे रहे, ये मेरी लाइफ सर्कमस्टांसेस हमेशा ऐसी रहे. We tend to get attached to all these ideas, right? If we don't get attached, we will move with life, and every situation of life, every padav of life will come with its own happiness. It will come with its own challenges, but everything will be beautiful. It will be like a holistic meal which has all flavors in it. खाली मीठा 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 नहीं है, नमक भी है, खटास भी है, right? All flavors, bitterness भी है. And when we eat a holistic meal as per Ayurveda, what happens? We are more satisfied. But if we develop cravings, कि सिर्फ मीठा खाना है, सिर्फ नमकीन खाना है, then what does it do? It creates imbalance in us. It creates disease in us. So we have to, if we move with the natural ebb and flow of life, we don't क्या कहते हैं? The word is we don't We don't resist it. We don't resist life, right? If we don't resist life and we move as per whatever VVGP comes to us and we do our duty as per our natural inclination, then life will become very easy and it will become very happy. And then it will become that scenic view that Bhagwanji talks about. That scenic view, Karma Yoga is that scenic view to the top. That is what he's promised us. That is our legacy. This is what all of us deserve to have in our lives. We don't get it because we are constantly resisting. We always resist. We are resisting ourselves. We are resisting the flow of life. We constantly are trying to be somebody else. We are not embracing our own truth. We're not happy with who we are. We always want to be somebody else. Somebody else is funnier than me. I like funny stuff. I want to be someone else. We're not being happy with who we are. We're not being happy with who we are. We're not embracing our own truth. And we are not embracing the VVGPs of life.
And it's easiest to spot all of this in your spouse.
Supremely.
Then work.
That's why you should talk to your spouse to tell you about your own truth. इसीलिए वो spouse होते हैं, है ना?
Correct. That's why they are partner for life, na? They are the ones, like this union is meant to bring the best of ourselves so that both of us achieve self-realization. That's the purpose of this union. And then everyone who comes in our contact, we take them along. That is the purpose.
Next कर ले 71.
Okay.
5 मिनट लगते हैं.
Bhageshri, would like to read with us again?
Yeah. The Lord now explains another point concerning the respective duties of different persons.
सहजं कर्म कौन्तेय
Sahajam karma kaunteya
सदोषमपि न त्यजेत्
sadosamapi na tyajet
सर्वारम्भा हि दोषेण
sarvarambha hi doshena
धूमेनाग्निरिवावृताः
dhumena O Kaunteya, one should in no way abandon one's innate duty, tainted with blemish as it may be, for as fire is covered by smoke, every undertaking is covered by some blemish. Imperfections in duties. Whenever fire is lighted, some smoke is always emitted. In the same manner, whenever an action is initiated, some flaw or imperfection always creeps in. For example, when oblations are offered to the fire, small insects get burned. Even in the natural processes of inhalation and exhalation, countless microbes are destroyed. Similarly, some flaw or blemish attaches to every action. Such unintended flaws, imperfections, or blemishes are not sins. This shloka mentions blemishes and not sins as necessary accompaniments of all actions. It is only when an action is performed with the deliberate intention to cause harm or injury or to defraud that it becomes a sin.
So the number one thing here to think of is when we do our duty and when we do our action, not to get caught in the trap of perfection. I need to do everything absolutely perfectly. Of course, have the right bhav so that you're doing it as an act of seva to Bhagwanji. Just like you decorate your temple at home before a puja and how you give him a bath or you wash and you take care of everything with that right bhav, or the prasad that you make before that puja with the right bhav, right? You take a bath, you get ready, you do it, and that prasad food, even though you've not tasted, always turns out to be yummy, right? So do your act with all the right bhav, but don't try and chase perfection. That will derail you from being able to do your own duty in the most efficient manner, because the purpose of the duty is for you to clean your antakaran and to do seva. That's it. If you start focusing too much on getting everything absolutely perfect, it will absolutely derail you and your focus will be on that task and the result very quickly. rather than the focus on the opportunity to do the duty in the right path.
Yep.
Okay. Should we stop 41? Okay. Let's take a
One. The time.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Do you want to do one more? Or stop here and do takeaways, and Abhinav has some sharing to do after this.
It's our decision. एक करना है, कर लो.
कर लेते हैं.
Naina, would you read with us?
In this way, the Lord has discussed in detail the subject of action, as action underlies the discipline of Karma Yoga. Now the Lord begins a discussion of the subject of Sankhya Yoga.
Asakta buddhi sarvatra
Asakta buddhi sarvatra
jitatma vigataspраha
chitatma vigata spraha
nashkarmya siddhim parma
naishkarmya siddhim parma
sanyasenadhigacchati.
Sanyasenadhigacchati. With the intellect uninvolved everywhere, with the self under control, free of desires, a person attains the supreme state of freedom from actions through renunciation. The supreme state of freedom from action. In this shloka, the Lord has referred to Naishkarmya Siddhi, or the state of freedom from action. A Sankhya yogi has the conviction of having complete identity with the Supreme Self. The Supreme Self is the source of all energy and power which activates nature, but the Self is absolutely free of any activity. On account of this complete identity with the Self, the Sankhya yogi is also absolutely free of all action. The supreme state is quite distinct from the state of perfection mentioned in Shloka 45. In that shloka, the Lord has described the state of a karma yogi who possesses the sense of being a performer of actions as only an instrument in the hands of the Lord. But in this shloka, the Lord has described the supreme state of a Sankhya yogi who is completely detached from nature and is posited in the self, which is devoid of action. By such direct perception of and complete identification with the self, such a Sankhya yogi is totally dissociated from the psychophysical organism. Obviously, such a yogi has no involvement with and no expectation of any gain from worldly activities. Totally absorbed in his own selfhood and perfectly content with himself, such a saintly man is free of all desires and has absolute control of himself.
We're now back to the discussion of Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga. In Shlok 45, we are talking about a perfection of a Karma Yogi, which is what all of us are, right? But Bhagwanji says that there is Sankhya Yogi as well, who will enjoy freedom from actions, right? This is where we had started this chapter from, where we were talking about, can we give up actions? Can we not give up actions? That was a question. And Bhagwanji said, nope, cannot give up actions at all, right? And that statement was for Karma Yogis, not Sankhya Yogis. Bhagwanji is saying that Sankhya Yogis have complete freedom from actions. उनके लिए कोई ड्यूटी नहीं है, उनके लिए कोई actions prescribed नहीं है. For Karma Yogi, there are umpteen actions that are prescribed. आपको ये करना ही करना है, ये करना ही करना है, depending on your ashram of life, right? Your duties have been enjoined. There is no duty for a Sankhya Yogi. There are no actions that have been prescribed for Sankhya Yogis, because Sankhya Yogi by definition is somebody who has identified himself with the Lord already. There is no body consciousness in this person. By definition, he has zero body consciousness. He only dwells in Krishna consciousness. So if he only dwells in Krishna consciousness, there is no small s self inside of him. There is no ego inside of him. That ego is completely dissolved and completely, is like is has become capital S self. And capital S self, by definition, is not involved in any actions. It only powers the actions. It's like the sun. And so any action that gets done is done by the gunas. Gun hi gunon se baratte hain. So a Sankhya yogi understands this scene. He sees Bhagwanji in everything and everybody. And he sees Bhagwanji acting with Bhagwanji through his own Maya. So he is enjoying everything that is happening, and whatever his role has been prescribed, वो कहता है वो मेरे से हो ही जाएगा. जो मुझे भगवान जी को मुझसे करवाना होगा वो खुद ही करवाते रहेंगे. हाथ मेरा चल जाएगा, पाँव मेरा चल जाएगा, मेरे मुंह से वर्ड्स निकल जाएंगे. I will do whatever भगवान जी wants me to do, will get done by his energy, will get activated by the gunas of the nature. So when Bhagwan ji wants dynamism from me, Rajogun will rise and will get me to do stuff. When he wants me to relax, he's going to increase the tamogun and this body will relax. Whenever he wants me to do something, like, he knows that Bhagwan ji will do all of this because he is one with Bhagwan ji at all times. So he's constantly dwelling in a space of Krishna consciousness, and his body is doing whatever is Bhagwan ji's will. So what he does is called kriya, not karma. Karma is what is done with full dedication to the Lord, but with a sense of separateness from Lord. That there is Bhagwanji, and then there is me, who is the servant of Bhagwanji. I'm the instrument of Bhagwanji, and I'm doing this because I have certain amount of body consciousness in me. And I use that body consciousness. I have a certain amount of ego in me, but I surrender it to Lord. But I'm aware. I'm surrendering. In case of a Sankhya yogi, there is no such consciousness of the body. It's only and only Krishna consciousness. And so there is the actions that are done by the Sankhya yogi. Apparently, when we see him doing certain actions, those actions are not karma. Okay, they are kriya. Activity हो रही है. क्रिया है, वो केवल क्रिया है. कर्म में there will be results that will be enjoined with that karma. The seeds will get sprouted. Now, if we are doing it with complete dedication to Bhagwanji as a Karma Yogi should, those seeds that get sprouted will get roasted. So they will not sprout into any further plants that need to be tended to. In case of Sankhya Yogi, the actions that he's doing are just kriya. Okay, so there is no fruit that will be born. There will be no seeds that will get generated because there is no involvement of any kind. There is no ego. That is a necessary. कर्तापन है ही नहीं. Action के हमने 5 वो पढ़े थे, right? The things that must be there for an action. One of them was kartapan, doership. And that doership comes from where? The doership comes from that sense of body consciousness, that sense of ego. If that is not there in Sankhya Yogi, a very essential component of karma is not there. So whatever actions the Sankhya Yogi does is just a simple kriya. And so there are no fruits, there are no seeds that get sprouted from that. Okay? So there are no seeds to be sprouted, there are no seeds to be roasted. In case of Karma Yoga, there are seeds that are created. Based on our attitude and how we do it, they either will sprout into something else or they get roasted to stop that cycle from continuing. Okay? We'll stop there.
Let's quickly do a round of takeaways. 10 minutes, please.
Okay, I can go first. The takeaways for me from the class were, first of all, the fact that I've been created by this energy which is given by me by God, and that it is for the dharma and the natural duties that I have to do. And I want to remember that and not let my ego come in the way. So I pray to God and I want to dedicate that and remember this week And every single action is a way to connect with God. So I pray to God I can keep working on this through Nam Jap. I think it's one of the ways. And the concept of natural duties, I think that was some natural actions that to go with the ebb and flow of life rather than to restrict it and to get fixated on any BVGP or trying to just getting restricted to my likes and dislikes. So these are the two takeaways for me.
Thank you.
I think I'll go next. I think the key takeaway for me was that we are all born with certain vibhutis and qualities. And, we need to sharpen the qualities that we think that we are better at, rather than, going back and looking at all the negative qualities and trying to work. I mean, negative qualities needs to be warded off, but, where we are not that uh, spiked up, or we are below average or average, we should rather work on the qualities that are sharpen those qualities. So that is interesting part, and that was a key takeaway for me.
Thank you.
Also I think, like, certain things comes naturally to you. So okay, I think when I was reading through these, it was like certain qualities are natural, but then there are certain qualities which are not that natural, like, being fortitude, that fortitude quality where, come whatever circumstances, you do not get, you should be unshakable, but that doesn't come naturally to, say, me. I do shake up, even if it's for a small time, I do feel a bit shaken up. So, that also needs to be kind of cultivated, because that is also part of the VVGP, where you need to improve yourself. And, and probably that's why that is something that I need to work on. So yeah, it's like, while you have to sharpen your existing qualities, you have to also work on the qualities that do still bother you, and you identify it and then work towards it.
Doing your duty, a cheat sheet is जो हमारे को 26 divine qualities बताई गई हैं, right? Whenever whatever circumstance comes to us, and in whatever form we are required to participate in that lila, we should just look to evince or to display and to put into action those 26 divine qualities, whatever is applicable in that situation. If we are putting any of those or all of those, or whatever number, that subset of those qualities into play, then we know कि हम स्वधर्म कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि that means likes and dislikes are not at play. That is a cheat sheet.
All right.
So every circumstance is coming for us to help us strengthen the divine qualities inside of us. So every moment we should look to see कि इसमें कौन सी divine quality मुझे display करनी, and then just work. Every action, every step, everything, every VVGP will help me manifest one of those. And वही जिसमें आपकी कमी है, उसी की ज्यादा ट्रेनिंग होगी. जो आपको ऑलरेडी आता है वो बार बार भगवान जी आपको नहीं देंगे ना, क्योंकि यू आर ऑलरेडी देयर, अनलेस वो आपको दूसरों, यू हैव टू यूज इट फॉर टू हेल्प अदर्स, उनकी सेवा करनी है. Whatever you're already good at, you will get situations for that, to be able to do seva of others. Whatever you're not good at, that situation will come again and again to help you strengthen that muscle of yours.
Yeah.
And there will be other people, other circumstances, other resources around you to help you to develop that muscle. Yeah. Very good.
I can go next. The Shloka 48 was where, for me, I think my takeaway would be from that, like falling into the trap of perfection. But like every action, I think you're attached to the results, and you want, especially for me, it was sometimes I probably feel that I won't be able to do it to that level of perfection. So maybe I try and avoid certain things. So that is my takeaway, not to fall into the trap of perfection and just do it without worrying about how perfect the results are. So that's my takeaway today. Thank you.
Takeaway. I think most of us women fall in that trap in some form or the other. Society has, like, always pushes women to be in some weird ways, try to be perfect and be those super women.
So perfection is two elements, right? One is this, what you and Tuina are referring to. The second is waiting for the perfect time to do something. oh, I will do this only if I've done XYZ and ABC, etc., etc. No, if it's the time to do it, and that's what is called for you to do as a duty right now, then you should do it. Your duty is to rest your body, the duty is to rest your body. But we tend to push and wait for the right time to do things. I will spend time here after I do XYZ. I will take care of my health after I've done XYZ. And no, you have to do everything in parallel based on your duty, based on your time of day, based on your uh, circumstance.
Yeah, and the last part to that conversation is ki it's easy to not fall in that trap if you constantly remind yourself that, like the example, the shloka spoke to that very clearly कि इस दुनिया में कुछ भी perfect नहीं है. The only perfection that exists in this world is in Bhagwan Ji. The day you will achieve enlightenment and you will lose your body consciousness and you become one with Krishna consciousness, that's the only time you will be perfect. He's the only perfection in this world. And only his actions are perfect. हमारे actions efficient हो सकते हैं, perfect नहीं हो सकते. Efficient हो सकते हैं when we are when we are doing it as a कर्मयोग. ठीक है, सिर्फ कर्मयोग ही कुशल होता है. So everything else is going to be imperfect, and that's a very good reminder to ourselves to like not push ourselves to that perfection.
I can go next. So, Shloka 48 was a reminder that every situation is given to me by God. So I should not resist it and ask like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Right? And since it's given to me by God, He knows what is right for me. If I need it, I need that particular situation to learn something at that moment. So use His energy. He has given me resources. Use them to go through that VVGP, and yeah, just go with the natural flow.
Amazing. Thank you, Bhagya.
So I'll go next. So my takeaway is some jobs, some actions we like, some we don't like it. So without if we don't like it, also it's God is given that job. I have to go like I have to process that from I'm trying to do now onwards. If I don't like, also it's given by God. So I have the duty to do that without any perfection and results. I work on that. So sometimes dislikes, some jobs we likes really, if I, for example, if I take classes, yoga classes, really like to do yoga. If I do 5 classes also, I don't mind to teach classes. But some of the jobs we don't like in the houses, the inside and outside of the houses also. But then that mind is get frustrated that time. So, but I've noticed when the mind gets frustrated, I've started noticing the low energy. Whenever the energy is low, the mind get frustrated actually. So then I can apply that time. The God is given this job, then you can get energy again because you are not doing for you, right? So you are doing for the God. So the energy you can get it, then you can do the job for the God. So I can implement that place.
Amazing.
Perfect. So Prem is having connectivity issues, which is why I've not called him upon reading, but he's written his takeaway and I'll take the liberty of reading it. My takeaway, which I know I need to practice more often, is not to be attached to the result and to do my duty action to the best of my ability. There should be no like and dislike attached while doing the duty and action. Thank you, Prem. I very much appreciate your sincerity in typing the takeaway. You really are a very good seeker. All right, so let's just do closing shlokas and then I'll want to spend 1 or 2 minutes. I'm not sure who iPhone 6 is.
This is me, but yeah, this is me, Kavita.
Oh, okay.
You know, I have that issue with the issue with that.
Oh.
I can say my takeaway here.
Please.
Okay. So for me, a lot of takeaways from today's class. The main takeaway is that God has given us energy and to do our duty, and we have to give it back to Him, whatever through the VBGP, through our Seva Bhav, and we have to see God in everyone, so that is the way we can give it back to Him. So, and every time there is a free will is there to us, whether we want to connect it to God or we have to, or we can do for ourselves. So we have to use the choice well so that we can just connect it back to God and give it to Him. That is my takeaway, main takeaway.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll do closing shlokas and then we'll just stay on and I have a few things to say. Om Sarvesham Swastirбhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Recording stop कर दें क्या?